Hello guys and welcome back. Welcome back to Dylan's Little Hobbies, and in today's video we are going to be reviewing The Flash. Oh my god, we are actually going to be talking about this movie. I know what everyone's gonna say, but before we get into my thoughts, I am not here alone. I am also here with my buddy, the Austinator, to discuss The Flash. Austin, go ahead and tell people where they can find you at, man.
Hey everybody, DCEU hater Austinator here. You guys can find me on my channel. I'm not really doing a lot of stuff right now, but we'll probably find something to do later down the road. You can just find me everywhere at this point. Dylan, thanks for having me on. Oh god, we get to talk about this movie. Yikes.
Yeah, this is gonna be a really interesting video, that's for sure. Especially because our opinions really are well, we're kind of the complete opposite of each other, and yet we both agree with each other. It's really interesting. You'll see how the review goes on. We'll also have a couple of guests that will hopefully show up later on in the video. But with that said, I'm just going to start off this right now with the elephant in the room. Shall we?
Oh yes.
Ezra Miller. Okay, so neither me or Austin, and I'll let Austin speak for himself on this topic as well, but I do not like Ezra Miller as a person, and I do not support him in any way. With that said, I have to give credit where credit is due, right? And I did not like Ezra Miller as the actor. I did not like the acting of Ezra Miller as the Flash and every other thing that he's popped up in. I've only seen him in the DC uh, Justice League movies, both of them, and I did not like him in either one of them. But it's actually interesting because if I compare him to Tom Holland, oh, hold on, just go with me. I'm not comparing Tom Holland to Ezra Miller, the person. I'm just explaining this through the characters. Don't get that mixed up. Tom Holland is not Ezra Miller, guys. But what I'm saying is, I did not like Tom Holland's Spider-Man at all from Disney at all. And yet, thanks to Sony, because Sony knows how to write and direct a Spider-Man movie, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was excellent in No Way Home. And as strange as it is, as much as I don't like Ezra Miller, and it kind of hurts me to say this, Ezra Miller as an actor actually pulled off Flash very well in this movie. I have to admit that. With that said, I do not condone Ezra Miller's actions at all, and I'm not a supporter of them. Austin, go ahead and say what you want about that stuff, man.
So I'm gonna give a disclaimer, kind of like Dylan. I've basically been an outspoken one of the many that's been kind of on the I'm not gonna go pay to see the Flash because of Ezra Miller thing, and I still held true to that. I still didn't pay to see the movie. Now again, I kind of like what Dylan said. I will give the devil their due. Okay. I did not like him in the Joss Whedon version of Justice League. I thought he was annoying. I thought he was just an overall unbearable character. And I will admit, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he was at least a lot more tolerable. So, and I did like his performance here in this movie. Now, my opinions on the movie aside, because trust me, I have a lot of things to say about this movie, and not a lot of good ones, to be honest. But I'm going to take the Ezra Miller stuff out of it because I have to judge this movie objectively, right? So,
That's the same with me. We want to review this movie based on the character of Flash and the story that this movie gives compared to everything else.
yeah, that's basically my thoughts on it. And to be honest, if somehow in some way Ezra Miller is recast as the Flash, I will not be going to see that movie. I didn't want to see this movie
That's
at
not going to
all.
happen.
At the
In
rate,
fact, in fact, I still kind of wish that he was replaced in this movie. As much as I did like him as a Flash in this film, he should have been replaced. And I feel like if he was replaced, then because of the story, now this is just me. Austin completely disagrees, I'm sure. but the story of this movie, I feel like wouldn't have bombed. I'm not saying it would have been the biggest success DC's ever had, but I'm saying it probably wouldn't have bombed if not for Ezra Miller. The movie itself, the story itself, I really don't think is that bad.
The issue is, and I and me and Nindroid have talked about this a couple times. I don't think that they really had a choice in the matter. I'm pretty sure if they could have recast Ezra Miller, they probably would have. But the issue was, at this point, they don't really have the money to recast and reshoot stuff. Ezra really couldn't have been recast. Like, there could have been a way, but I feel like there was just so much red tape there for them that it probably would have been a lot harder for them to even do so, if that makes sense.
That's true. What is up, Steve? Nice to see you. With that said, let's go ahead and get into reviewing the actual film. And we are not going to be talking about Ezra Miller at all within the rest of this video, because that's just it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The dude should be in jail. So moving on. So the movie itself, and I want to give a shout out to my cousin Nick, who also really didn't want to go see the film, but thanks to a buddy of his as well as me, he decided to take us to the film, and he actually paid for my ticket. So I want to give him a shout out because I know he did not want to go see this movie, and I understand why. Not getting back into that conversation again. When it comes to the movie itself, the story, we already know the story. It's basically the animated version retold in live action, and it's really funny, right? Because live action remakes, Disney, I'm looking at you. Live action remakes are nowhere near as good as the original, and this movie was again nowhere near as good as the original animated version. However, I do like the story that they decided to at least portray in terms of Flash. Maybe it's because I'm a sucker for mom stories, but the basic story is that Flash, after his dad was accused for his mom's murder, now he's trying to prove his innocence, and throughout that, he decided, you know what, I'm just gonna run. While on his run, he actually figures out that he can go back in time. He's done it before, but now he figured out that he can do it more than just a couple of seconds. He can do it a full day. Can he do a full year? And I actually like how he goes to Bruce, aka Batman, and tells him, and Batman's whole words is basically the whole lesson of the movie, and I really enjoyed the quote-unquote lesson of the film. Is that the past is the past. You can't fix the past. You can only move on and live in the future, and don't let the past drag you down. Don't let the past defy your entire life. Move on towards the future. I really liked that lesson within this film. And when it came to Flash's character, he just at the time he just can't do that, and so he goes back in time to save his mother. And I actually really found this part of the story really interesting, because unlike in the original where he actually literally saves his mother, what happens is it's all because of a tomato can. It's literally the butterfly effect. He goes back, and he picks up the tomato can that Eve forgot and dropped it into her cart. That way, when she gets home, she doesn't have to send in his dad back to get it, which means she won't be alone when the guy shows up to kill her, which is interesting, and that's how she gets saved. He never interacts with her at all in the beginning of the film. Then he goes back to normal, and while he's trying to get back to his normal date, a monster out of nowhere just pushes him aside into another period of time. And now he has his mom, he has his dad, and there is another version of him, literally a second Flash. And this was definitely different from the anime version, and this was another part that I liked. So don't get me wrong, this is nowhere near as good as the animated Flashpoint Paradox film. But I actually did like the whole thing of, and again, the whole lesson of his other half. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm here, and I don't take my mom for granted because I didn't have her growing up. But now with this other version is taking granted of her because, well, he has his mom. He's never had to choose different, and it just makes for an interesting comparison. And it's another life lesson. Don't take your loved ones for granted, and it's another lesson that I really like. And I really like how the whole monkey, as stupid as it may seem, the whole monkey fit in, and how there was this moment where he just straight up breaks down full of anger and rage and yells at his other version self about him being arrogant and not funny, and use the monkey as a dart, the monkey that mom gave him. And I just liked the whole comparison there. And when the other version finds out why he's been acting like this and decides to try to change, and he has the same almost mindset that he can, because of these powers, he's like a god, right? He can choose and make the world a better place. He wants to make the world perfect. He wants to fix the mistakes of the past that he can't fix. And that's the whole thing of Baron just learning that he can't fix all the problems. I really liked the whole lesson of the film. I also really liked Supergirl. I thought Supergirl was a really fun part. I enjoyed all of the Batman characters as well, all the Batman cameos. I mean, how can you not? But with that said, I do have a couple of issues. Before I talk about those, I'm going to give Austin a chance to talk about what he likes about the film. With that said, the floor is yours, buddy.
Cool. So I'm gonna give my overall thoughts. To me, this is a movie that honestly gets worse every day I think about it. Not only because of what it represents, but just what exactly we got. Okay, I think the biggest like this movie, I'm starting to dislike more and more. But I won't say this movie is all bad. Like I said, I'll give Ezra Miller credit. You know, they did a great job as current Barry. I'll talk about past Barry when I talk about the stuff I don't like. But to me, he does Barry, the current Barry in this movie, he does go through an arc, I guess. Whatever is there, and you do have some really cool character moments, like him, like almost like he wants to be back with his mom, but then once he's put in that situation of shit's about to go down, yeah, now you kind of have to learn how to make a sacrifice, even though you have all these godlike powers. I do like that. Seeing Ben Affleck one more time as Batman, that did make me smile a little bit, especially since I still think that Ben Affleck is easily one of the best live action Batmans. And even though I will criticize him later on, I will admit seeing Michael Keaton back again as Batman was a really nice nostalgia trip. And I will also admit Supergirl in this movie was not as bad as I thought she was going to be. Granted, she doesn't really do a lot, which again I'll talk about in my negatives. I thought she was really, really solid. She has a really she's an enjoyable character, and for the most part, like it was really the performances that I will admit were really good. But it's just there's a lot to this movie I don't like. But kind of going back to the character interactions, like the scene with Barry and Bruce, like at the very beginning, I thought was a very nice, heartfelt conversation where Batman's really telling him, like, look, you know, even though you could say my parents, because I lost my parents, I became who I am today, type of thing. Like, I really did like that, because because that's kind of in Batman's like nature, like, because what you've seen this multiple times, where if his parents survived, Bruce Wayne would not be like the Bruce Wayne we know. So I really did like that. I will say I like the Flash's suit in this more than I did in the Justice League movies, because that just looked like crap. This one actually looks, I don't know, halfway decent. So I'll give them credit for that too. Um, yeah, other than some of the character interactions, like the first act of the movie, I will say is a lot better than the rest of the movie, because I feel like it's a little bit more grounded, and I felt it kind of wasn't the Flash's character. Like, you do see him, like, he has to eat a bunch of stuff in order for him to keep his calories so that he can keep running. The Wonder Woman cameo was cool, I will admit, seeing Gal Gadot one more time. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I mean, there are a couple action scenes that I will also give credit to, even though, again, we'll talk about that in the negatives. I thought especially the one where Michael Keaton's Batman's beating up all those soldiers, and where Supergirl was being held captive, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Because it actually made me feel like, oh, this is like because it's Michael Keaton beating up a bunch of criminals. Like, it's Batman beating up a bunch of people. It's like, of course it'll be cool. But yeah, other than that, though, I mean, if there's some more stuff that I think about, I'll say it later. But right now, that's really all I have, because everything I have left to say is really in my negatives. So
Yep, that's fine. Well, there are a couple other things that I would actually like to just throw in here, because this is just kind of interesting. So, um, as a story writer myself, and a fan of stories and movies, and one of my favorite things in the world, as well as one of my least favorite things in the world, is time travel. If you do it right, it can make your story. It can elevate your story to something insane and amazing. If you do it wrong, it can just flat out ruin your story and make it look stupid. So time travel is a double-edged sword here, and it's interesting because as much as I love time travel and Marvel time travel, especially when Infinity War and Endgame came out, the time travel stuff in all those movies were insanely well done and everything. But I feel like after Endgame, whenever they tried to introduce time travel as well as the multiverse and all of that stuff, it just fell flat. It just fell right apart, and it made no sense within the Marvel universe. And well, that's Marvel. Something that I really found interesting is actually how they decide to describe time travel within this movie. If you change one thing, it's the butterfly effect, right? But everyone believes that if you go back in time, well, you're on the same time period, so you just can run back home. But that's not how it is. Literally, you have a big bowl of spaghetti. Every spaghetti is a new, different timeline. You change one thing here, you change something in the past, and I really like how they connected that whole thing together, and how it just ended up being a complete mess at the end. You don't know what is going to happen. Actually, another story that kind of does the exact same thing that I absolutely love is Steins Gate. If you guys haven't checked out Steins Gate and you love time travel stories, you definitely should, because it kind of does the same thing. And I just found it really interesting, that comparison of how time travel works there and how it was explained. I feel like it was explained way better in the DC verse versus the Marvel verse. Just an interesting comparison that I wanted to make. But another thing that this I'm actually mixed on. This is both a negative and a positive for me. But the animation, not animation, but special effects and the way it looks, it's both a negative and a positive, because I've seen a lot better, especially with today's technology. I've seen a lot worse CGI, especially with today's technology. It's really hilarious how bad CGI I've seen, how much good CGI I've seen. I've seen better CGI that came from 10, 12 years ago than we have today, and yet I've seen some CGI that has been excellent come out of today's movie. It's just it's an interesting comparison, and the CGI in this film was technically bad. At the same time, it kind of, I don't know why, it kind of it had a almost nostalgic feel to it, and the movie itself, the story itself, it felt so over the top and crazy that I don't know why I ended up actually liking the bad CGI because it reminded me of a time period when these movies were good, like in like the old Batman films or something like that. The CGI and the story was over the top and it was fun. And this movie ended up being very much over the top and fun. So the CGI, I mixed on. It's bad CGI, but I actually kind of liked it. What do you think, Austin? What are your mixes?
Well, I don't really have any mixed opinions because really all of it's negative. So, I mean, I can also comment on the CGI. Yeah, the CGI is bad, and the reason why I'm saying this is a negative, okay, is this movie is a $200 million movie. There is no excuse for the CGI to look bad. I do not want to hear this director go, well, that was a design choice. Well, we'll just say BS. Okay, that's unforgivable to me.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that shouldn't have been a design choice. I
and
ended up liking it, but yeah, no.
and what's really even more distasteful is you try to use the said CGI to bring back dead actors, and the CGI still looks horrendous. Like they couldn't use archived footage. Like that would have been much easier, I think. Like that to me is just sorry. That's just distasteful and just completely disrespectful to me. Like I don't know what your thoughts would be on that, but to me it's if you're gonna do that stuff, at least make it look good. But it just didn't. And it's to me that's just embarrassing and unforgivable to me.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. And I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting that, yeah, I agree that the CGI is bad, but I don't know. I almost had like a nostalgia for it. Like, it did not. Honestly, watching this movie doesn't feel like it came out in 2023.
No.
Honestly, it feels like it came out in 2010, if
But
not before.
But to an extent, though, Dylan, that's a bad thing, though.
It
Cause
is, and that's why I'm mixed on. Because while I like that part of the film, feeling almost nostalgic, that shouldn't be the case with this movie.
well, the issue is this is supposed to be a massive This is supposed to be a quote unquote massive box office summer movie, and it looks like that. Like,
Yeah, it looks so bad.
like I'm sorry, but even if it's nostalgic, that's unforgivable. Like, where did the $200 million go? That's the real question now. Like,
Yeah, come to think of it.
like it clearly didn't go into the CGI. It had to go. Most of it had to go into reshoots, more than likely.
Oh,
But
definitely.
it's like stuff like that. That's not even like the worst of its problems, even though it's a big problem for me. Like I'll like I said, well, I'll talk about it more when I get into my negatives. But damn, this. Yeah, I'll talk about it later. Oh my god.
Well, that's funny because you're pretty close to talking about it now because we are pretty much there within the end of this. Oh my god, what did I not like about this film? Um, that's actually funny because I talked about a lot of the positives. I talked about a lot of my mixes, but believe it or not, when it comes to what I don't like about the film, it's It's not even the film itself. It's just me how I feel about it out the whole film compared to um, uh, the animated version. The animated version does the story so much better. And I mean, I found it interesting how they did do uh, the anti-Flash. Is that what it's called? Is that what
They
he's called?
they call him Dark Flash, but even that's a
Dark
big
Flash.
issue for me.
Yeah. I liked how they actually did do the Dark Flash in this film, but at the same time, like in that film, it did a lot better job in the animated version
Oh,
at building
sorry.
up the world.
In
Go
the
ahead.
animated movie, the villain was Reverse Flash, but the villain
Reverse Flash. That's what it
and then
is.
the villain in the live action one was Dark Flash.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had dinner, guys. Anyway.
Oh, it's all right, man.
I think I have stuff on me, stuff on my lips. Anyway, but yeah, one of the best things about that movie, I feel like, is how they literally just set up the world because there was so much world building with it in that one film of how Wonder Woman's people works, how the situation was with the Atlanteans and how that was all built up. And as much as there was so much world building as well, what I really liked about that film is, well, our main character and his struggle with dealing with the fact that his mother died. I really felt like, as much as I did like that betrayal in this movie, I feel like the anime version just did that so much better with Baron and his quick whips, but you can tell how much he really does care about his mom and how his choice has really affected him and why he's going through this whole situation. I feel like it's done a whole lot better in that movie versus this movie, and that would be like the only negative I really have is that. But and I know it's funny because I'm trying to think about other negatives that I have with the film, but strangely, other than that, I really don't have many negatives with the film. Other than the fact that it was really, really basic. But here's the thing: is that really a negative? It's more of a mixed thing. I feel like because like I actually liked what was it at something Adam, Black Adam. What was it?
Black Adam, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I liked Black Adam. I really did. I thought it was just a fun, basic movie, and I don't know. I guess because my expectations are so stupidly low going into these movies that I don't expect anything. I'm not expecting Infinity War in-game levels of entertainment anymore. Honestly, maybe it's a bad thing, but I don't expect that stuff when I go to the theater anymore. I expect a basic movie. I feel like the only film that really surprised me and blew me out of the water was, without a doubt, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which deserves that. That was absolutely fantastic. When it came to this film was basic. That's not a bad thing. I liked the basic story, but I'm not expecting. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I went to the theater knowing that this wasn't going to be Infinity War levels of entertainment, and I just wanted to see a good movie. And for me, I got a basic good story. And like, have I seen the story before? Yes. Have I seen it done way better? Yes. But at the end, and it's technically a bad thing. I'm just like, okay, it was good. Move on. I'm not expecting something epic out of it. But go ahead and tell everyone what you thought about it, Austin. And Give us all your negatives, because I'm pretty sure that's the entire story of this film, right?
Yeah, so, okay. Let me start off again by saying the CGI is bad. I'm not going to go too in detail about it. Secondly, I will say, and I agree with you, Dylan, this is the worst version of the animated Flashpoint movie, and I'm not saying it in a good way, I'm saying this in a bad way. Okay, the story, I'm gonna be honest, the story, there's too much going on. I feel like that's probably the biggest issue for me in terms of the story. There's just so much going on, and there's not enough time to do it. Like, you have the plot line with Barry going back in time saving his mother, then you have the whole him training his younger self, then you have the Batman storyline, you have Supergirl, you have General Zod again, apparently, which I'll get into. Like, there's just so much of this movie going on, and I think somebody on the Cool Kids panel said it best. It felt like shit was happening because shit needed to happen, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, things just happen with rhyme and no reason, and it's just, at points, it's all over the place. It's really hard to follow. It just, to me, the story falls apart really quick, and especially in that second act of that film.
It's funny because I actually disagree with you on that, and yet I agree with half of what you said. Like, again, it's just I didn't expect this to be Shakespeare levels of Infinity War, great
No,
masterpiece from Star Wars storytelling. I
no,
think it's just basic, you
no,
know.
I agree with you in that sense, but the problem is you'd expect
It shouldn't be basic, right?
no, well, it shouldn't. It's not just that, but the problem is for your quote unquote conclusion, your story should at least be halfway decent. And I'm sorry, this just wasn't it for me.
I liked it.
No,
I liked it. That's all I can say, right?
no,
I
it's
liked it.
fine.
I
But
didn't have problems with it
to me,
as much as you did. Yeah.
but to me, there's just too much going on, and I have to say this too: the humor in this movie was
All the humor's bad. That's another negative I have.
the humor is pretty really bad, and it's borderline Marvel Phase 4 bad. Like,
No, in fact, you know what? Honestly, I don't mind some of the humor. Like, some of the jokes actually did land with me. But
right.
I'm telling you right now, when they started trying to go with, like, the rated R kind of jokes, it's not that it wasn't funny. It's that it was literally, like, kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
For everyone to listen to.
Like, the problem is with the humor, and this goes in hand in hand with my next point.
You were trying to be raunchy for the sake of it, and really,
Yeah.
it paid nothing.
Young Barry's humor, like, I'm sorry, Young Barry was really annoying. Like,
Yes, he was.
I know the director's like, oh, but that was intentional. No, it doesn't matter. He's still annoying, and it was unbearable. Like, he had this really annoying laugh. Like, he had stoner like, it felt so out of left field that it made no sense. Right? Like,
Yeah.
Like, I do agree. There were a couple times where I will admit, I did chuckle, especially that scene where current Barry loses his powers and he tries to run, and then he's just, like, doing the flash run, but normally. But
That was great.
But the rest of the humor is very cringy, and I think that's and especially there was, like, that one scene where Batman was fighting all those guys, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then, like, Barry gets shot in the leg, and then he throws up. I'm like, really? Like, what was the point of any of that? You know, like.
Yeah.
And also my next point: the villains do not do anything in this movie. Okay.
That is another issue I have. Is that, I mean, it's one of those things. Just like you were saying, right? We focus so much tension on Flash, and I like the fact that we focus so much tension on Flash because I really care for the mother story. But at the same time, because of that, the villains suffer so much, and they look like idiots in this film.
Like, as much as, you know, we've talked about this before on my channel, where in the animated version, Reverse Flash wasn't in it, but you still had Wonder Woman and Aquaman as the quote-unquote antagonists, and they actually did stuff in that movie. Now, you brought General Zod back again. I don't know why. He really doesn't do much, and you could tell the actor just didn't want to be there, by the way. You can just tell he was just phoning it in, and I don't blame him. But he does nothing. He literally, yeah, like, he shows up. Well, he doesn't really show up. He's just like, they just say, oh, General Zod's here, and then it's like, oh, okay, and then he doesn't show up until around the end of the movie, and it's like he doesn't even do much except he kills Supergirl a bunch of times. That's like, okay, and like, is that it? Like, I get what they were going for, but it fell flat. And Dark Flash, he also does nothing in this movie. What's up, LDG?
What's up, LGG?
Like, again, say what you will about Reverse Flash and Flashpoint Paradox, but at least Reverse Flash beats up Barry for a couple minutes and has that cool monologue.
That's true.
All Dark
That's
Flash
true.
does is stand around, say a monologue, and then nothing happens. Like, really? That's supposedly your final, like, main and bad? Like, I'm sorry, but that's lame.
I actually that's interesting because I actually really liked the whole Dark Flash's storyline with him and how again he was actually the monster that bounced off and made Flash original Flash go back in time and make him in the first place, and his whole again it just goes back to that whole lesson of him trying to actually learn, you can't fix the past. You have to move on. Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from. Like that really wasn't that big of a good fight scene. Okay,
No.
It was so basic that's the whole problem with me.
Yeah,
it's so basic.
But that's just lame to me. It's like, and yeah, they both fell flat, and LDG says it best too. They just do nothing, and it's just none of it. It just fell flat. And speaking of actors who clearly didn't want to be there, like as much as seeing Michael Keaton was cool, it also felt like he was also phoning it in at times. Like you could tell, like a lot of the like lines that he had just felt like he was just there to just be there, and you're kind of just like, I don't know, it was just lackluster for me. Like, also Supergirl, again, I liked her performance, but she does nothing. Like, she just dies a bunch of times. Like, that's really all she really does. Like, again, performance and character are great. It's just I wish she actually amounted to more. And this movie's also biggest problem is that, like I said before, this is the quote-unquote conclusion to this universe, and it doesn't really conclude anything. Like,
no, it doesn't. It's supposed to set up the next universe, actually, which it really doesn't do that either.
No, like literally the ending is just a tongue-in-cheek joke of, haha, George Clooney's here, like that he's Batman.
Which I thought that was pretty funny, but
it was funny, but it was pointless. Like it does nothing. It doesn't do anything in this universe, and the mid-credit scene is even worse. Like, you have...
Yeah, I did not like the mid-credit scene, actually, with Aquaman 2.
Like, first of all, that doesn't make me want to go see Aquaman 2, because literally all he is he's a joke. But I also don't want to see... But also, it doesn't do anything to set up this new universe. Like, I don't know what is so hard about that. Like, maybe it's because of when it was released. But if that was the case, they should have released this in December. There was no reason to release this here, especially when you still need to touch up the CGI. The CGI, and I'm gonna say this again, was atrociously bad, and it's embarrassing, especially when they used CGI to bring back Christopher Reeve and I believe George Reeve, the two dead actors who played Superman, and it looked horrible. Like, I'm sorry, but that's distasteful and embarrassing, and I will continue, and that is something I will be harsh on forever. Like, I'm not saying the cameos themselves are bad, but there was a better way to do it, and it was just... to me, it just came off as disrespectful.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the CGI was bad. It's funny, because the CGI out of everything was probably my favorite thing about it, even though it was bad. That's not a good thing either.
Like, if it was just the CGI being bad, I wouldn't really be talking that much about it. But the fact they used it to...
Oh, it was bad.
But they used it to bring back two dead actors and still made it look horrible. Like, is that really...
It really did look that bad.
It's disrespectful. And and I'm still going to die on that hill. I know some people might disagree and say, "Oh, the cameos are cool." Sure, but realistically, did they amount to anything? No, not really. The CGI was it just doesn't work. It This movie is just ultimately the biggest flaw of this movie is it's just trying to do too much all at once. And I feel like that if this movie was more condensed, it would have been a lot better. And
Yeah.
it sucks, and top it all off too, like they also got like guys like Tom Cruise and Stephen King to be like, oh my god, it's the greatest superhero movie ever, which already that makes me go, yeah, that's kind of bullshit. So, but that's really one of the bigger reasons why I want to see it, is just to see, okay, can DC and WB finally prove me wrong and actually release a great movie in this universe when it really needed to matter. And unfortunately it didn't. And I don't know what else to say about it without getting into the rest of the DCEU, because I just can't understand and fathom, like, this is probably the epitome of stupidity, right? Like, I'm not going to go into it because that's going to be a whole nother rant, but this to me is almost an encapsulation of what the DCEU is. No direction, messy, and just flat out, just at points, bad.
No, I actually agree with you. I mean, you know me. I have never really been a DC fan until I saw the DC animated verse, which the DC animated verse it's done way better. It's put way more better together than this whole movie series is, because I'm telling you, and I hate comparing it to Marvel, but like Marvel, I'm a humongous Marvel guy. I mean, Iron Man shirt right on here right now with the Flash logo behind me. Yes, I am a Marvel guy, and I can just say this: compare to Marvel. There's a reason why Marvel used to be the top of the top. Back in the day with movies coming out 3, 4 at a time, versus what DC has put out. It's only a couple of movies here and there that honestly don't have a connection and don't really have a universe to literally put together. Um, that's just my opinion on that, and I'm really glad to see that that is actually changing. So, me and Nindroid last night, we actually ended up watching James Gunn's whole speech and of what he wants to do and what movies he's going to be coming out with, and he's going to be coming out with the new Superman movie, Superman Legacy, and a couple other projects you already know, Austin. But
Yeah.
I was watching it, and especially at the end, just listening to him, listening to his passion and excitement for the future of DC. It made me really hopeful. And give me a second, buddy. I know you just showed up. We have a friend of mine in the background. I'll introduce him in a second. But I really just liked how he really just almost inspired me through his speech. James Gunn at the end of the day, I feel like because of what I've seen him do with the Guardians of the Galaxy, plus everything he's learned from Marvel, plus being a fan of the DC universe and hearing him speak about his plans and what he actually wants to accomplish with it, I want to give him a chance, and it makes me really excited for the future of DC. Even though that I know this movie to you, Austin, might have been a huge flop, which, yeah, it's pretty much a big flop at the box office. There's no
No,
doubt about
it
that.
is. And no, I
Oh
agree with you.
God.
I'm willing to give James Gunn a chance, but at this point, James Gunn better be crossing his fingers that Superman Legacy does well, because if it doesn't, he's screwed. And now,
That's true.
like, don't get me wrong, I do believe it'll make money, but the biggest concern is, I don't think a 2-year wait for this movie is going to be enough time to, like, let let it simmer a little bit. Like, I feel like James Gunn needs to wait 3-4 years to just say, okay, we need to kind of recover from this, because clearly these movies are not making money. Dylan, I shit you not, the last DCEU movie that made some sort of money was in 2019. Every movie since has bombed badly. Okay.
Yeah. With that said, we actually have another guest here showing up a little bit midway through the live stream. Nindroid, go ahead and tell people where they can find Jetman, and then get into your interest of this film, your opinions.
Okay, well, honestly, I'm actually gonna keep on talking about the whole James Gunn thing, but yeah, honestly, guys, you know where you guys can find me, the channel that's right here. All right, so now where I'm at with the whole them losing money thing, because Shazam did not do well. Birds of Prey, of course, did not do well because of
No DC
I
film has
actually
done
say,
well.
well, yes, yeah. Well, Shazam did all right, actually, if you look at the
Well, the
box
first
office.
one.
I liked Black
Shazam.
Adam,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it didn't do
Black
well at box
Adam
office.
Black Adam did poor. And Suicide Squad, that was released during the pandemic, and also that did not help. That was released on HBO Max as well. So at the same time, so that did not help. Wonder Woman 1984 was a piece of crap. So yeah, but no, my whole thing is with Austin's claim about Superman Legacy needs to do very well. I actually disagree with that, and
Why?
this is why. So thing is, DC's brand right now is very bad. Their reputation is really bad. So, okay, so if you know anything really about business, such as like Netflix and all of that, Netflix, they just keep on making their shows. And then after, like, they said when they started with their originals and all of that, they kept on making originals, and it wasn't till like 5 years in that they started getting actual money back from it, because they kept on giving the license out and making the products and all that. I think what James Gunn really just needs to do right now is make his first slate, the first few movies and shows he announced, absolute bangers, and attract the casual audience with Superman Legacy, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and The Authority. If he at least attracts them with those core projects, like not even the shows, for God's sake, but if you at least attract them with especially Superman and Batman, then they can start getting money back. But they have to earn the respect of the fans, because let me tell you what, like, really no DC fan besides a few wants to go out because they are hurt fans. All right? Like, they don't want to keep on seeing it like, oh, well, it's just another director doing another movie of a superhero. There's no interconnectivity. There's nothing
That's
planned
true.
here. Yada yada yada. Like, that's really what James Gunn needs to do. He can make Superman Legacy. He needs to make sure these things have, like, they need to be awesome. They need to look awesome. They can't be like the Flash with their CGI. So if you're saying that they should limit their money, then guess what? That's a big problem right there.
What
Because,
money do you think WB has right now? That's the question. Like,
well, I get that. They're going to have to go super in debt, though, in order to gain their money back eventually after 5 years, Austin. I'm
Right,
saying
but
that DC won't be getting money back till 2028 or 2029. That's what I'm saying.
is WB going to be patient enough to wait that long? And I don't think they are. And
I don't know because Zaslav is someone completely different compared to the old regime. So I don't
He-
know really. That's
he may be, but the problem is they're investing a lot of money into James Gunn and saying, okay, you do what you need to do. And I respect them for that. But the problem is, and we're going back, and I do agree. Would Superman Legacy make money? I definitely think it will.
yeah. No, I
But
think so.
the problem is, and let's go with the hypothetical that it doesn't, okay? They're wasting a lot of money for then another movie to lose money. Okay. Now, to me, that first impression is going to be Superman Legacy. If it does not do well, WB, we've known how they are from before. If something goes awry, they're immediately going to get cold feet, and then they're immediately going to go, yeah, no, I think this is probably not where we're going to go. And again, I agree with you that Zaslav is probably different than the rest, but only time will tell. And right now, and I think that the 2-year release window for Superman Legacy, I feel like they need to wait a little bit more time for it to let wounds heal a little bit, because 2 years is not enough time. Like, they need to take they need I said this to Dylan backstage, they have to release Blue Beetle because they kind of have to at this point. Aquaman 2, they just need to cancel it, take the tax write off, let them go. They need to
I
take some
want to
time
see
off.
it. So
Well,
even with Amber Heard, I don't like her either, but I just want to see that story. So don't cancel it.
the problem with Aquaman 2 is I don't know why they didn't just get Amber Heard out of it. Because they said she
That's
has
what they should. They
limited
should just
scenes.
cut her out of it.
She legit has 1 minute and 30 seconds of screen time. You're
Just cut
telling
her
me
out of it
that
completely.
you couldn't just recast the living heck out of her, reshoot it, just with like Emily Clark, you know, the girl who
Or
played
just cut her out completely.
from no. If you cast Emily Clark, the girl who played Kira in Solo: A Star Wars Story, if you cast her in it, she legit looks like Mira, like physically and all that. If you just do that, I don't think anyone would really freaking notice. But okay, sure. And also then you would get some money. Like, I'm not saying it's gonna get a lot. I don't know personally with Aquaman. That's the thing, because Aquaman, the first one, was the highest grossing movie out of all the DCEU. So I
Aquaman
don't
was
know.
great.
Also,
was.
the casual audience loves Aquaman.
Oh, sure.
So
Yeah, but it was a Marvel ripoff.
and also
I love Aquaman, but it's a Marvel ripoff.
also well, wait, no, hang on a minute. Wait, when did Namor come out, Austin?
Namor? Are we talking comic book Namor or are we talking movie?
Comic book Namor.
Fuck. Hang on. Let me look.
Yeah, look up Aquaman and Namor. Which one came out first?
Well, Namor was first published, or it was first
Wasn't
introduced.
it in the 1930?
Yeah, 1939 it says.
1939. Okay, what about Aquaman?
Aquaman. He first was introduced in 1941.
Wow. Okay. Well, still, DC won with the superhero in the water thing.
Well, yeah, but again, the problem is, and I've seen somebody talk about this. The Flash's box office failure is unwittingly going to create a ripple effect that's going to affect the box office of these other movies.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Like, for example, the Flash movie should be a warning of like the problem with the Flash movie right now is I feel like what they should have done, what James Gunn should have done, even though I love how he's so open to the fans and he wants them to know that he's listening and all that. I love all that. he should have, and instead though, he should have not like came out with his slate in January 31st of this year. I feel like he should have like maybe said the slate halfway throughout the year, like, because then Shazam's box office, I feel like, could have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
I would have actually, and Austin knows this because I kind of pitched him my idea of the Flash movie. I would have pushed the Flash movie to December instead of June, where, oh yeah, by the way, 2 weeks off of Across the Spider-Verse. It doesn't help, that it's 2 weeks off from that movie. So, honestly, and to me, Blue Beetle should have been a HBO Max release movie.
Yeah, no, it should
Like
have.
what it, I think it was originally going to be that, if I'm not lying. And then, Aquaman, I would have just said release it September of the year. Like September, August.
Well, now we're hearing that
November.
Aquaman. From what I've heard, the test screens for Aquaman 2, they said it's unwatchable.
Oh no.
Well, see, no, but the thing is, though, they say that, but then at the same time, though, we got so much praise, though, for the Flash movie, which, again, I actually really like the Flash, which I know this is the DC Flash review, for God's sake, didn't even say that. Yeah, I actually really thought the Flash was great, by the way, everyone.
Go ahead and give your positives, your mix, your negatives. Go ahead and go through the movie, man. Me and Austin already have.
Positives. My favorite thing of the whole movie was actually Barry Allen. I know that's probably going to be a very surprising thing, but I actually liked Ezra Miller's performance.
Me and Austin both did a disclaimer in the beginning of this video talking about our thoughts on the actor, and we will not discuss that further.
Yeah. Well, hang on. I'm gonna quickly just say I do not support anything that Ezra Miller,
Yep. I figured you would want to do that.
Done, because I feel like he should be arrested and in bars right now. So I'm going to straight up say that, because I remember Austin and I actually used to cover the news of him causing trouble on my own channel. So, yeah. So just a FYI right there. But I will say, though, he actually did a good job in this movie. Or, I mean, correction, they did a good job in this movie. The performance that Ezra Miller did was really well done. Barry Allen, to me, feels like Barry Allen. The character Flash was not annoying in this movie. I liked young Barry, actually, as well. I know a lot of the jokes did not land well, in my opinion, with him, but
definitely the adult jokes didn't land at all.
Well, no, but at the same time, though, I gotta say that I get why they made him immature and all that, because, to be honest with you, everyone is immature at that phase.
I know, but they were trying to push some of those jokes. I honestly feel like they were trying to push them just so the rating would be up,
especially
instead of PG or anything.
The phasing rating. No, the phasing the phasing thing. Remember when not the phasing when they went in to get the powers. It was the phasing thing when they were at the apartment and then he landed down and he was naked to his neighbor. That I was like, okay, we didn't need that. They could have just cut that out completely, and it doesn't change anything, whatsoever. So that's why the jokes actually are not my biggest thing, because honestly, you could just simply cut them and the story would still be the same.
Yeah.
So I'm not really.
It would actually be an improvement on the story. That's what's sad
Yes.
about it.
Yeah, well, yeah. But yeah, I loved Barry Allen's character in this movie. I loved the beginning of the movie a whole lot. I loved Ben Affleck's last performance, and I feel so bad for Ben Affleck. He actually said this was his favorite time portraying Bruce Wayne / Batman because he said he finally understood how to play the character. I feel so bad after hearing that, because I'm like, yeah, that's what Zack Snyder did. He screwed up your whole character and all that. And it's like, you were the best part of Batman versus Superman and, both Justice League movies, you were the best part. And also David Ayer's Suicide Squad, so you were the best part of all of those movies. And it sucks that, now you finally get... But let me tell you, his whole chase scene thing, I was like, man, this is something that I've been wanting on screen from Batman. And I actually felt like, oh my God, this is like they took a Batman animated movie or something from the animated series and they actually did it in live action. I love that. And I hope, because they hired the same director, Andy Muschietti, for Batman the Brave and the Bold, I hope we see that in Batman the Brave and the Bold. Straight up. I want to see because the thing is, up to now, we've been just seeing complete, more realistic tones of Batman. I actually want to see comic book Batman in live action, if that makes sense, like him go full out with his comic bookness, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not like the 1960s, but you get what I mean. A few threads.
I do.
Stories, all right, The Dark Knight Returns and all that, which is supposed to be what Ben Affleck's Batman is supposed to be about. But anyway, then also Michael Keaton's performance as Batman was great to see. Sasha Calle, I'm telling you right now, she was one of the best parts of the movie for me. I loved her performance as Supergirl, and I hope James Gunn notices that she's now a fan favorite to a lot of fans. And I hope that he's like, okay, I'm moving you straight to one Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Honestly, the little bit that we got of her proved to me, yeah, I want more from this actress as Supergirl. So, because it's funny how legit, I would say it was maybe 15 minutes of screen time. How 15 minutes of screen time is better than an entire CW show for Supergirl. Which is 6 seasons, by the way, right, Austin?
6, yes.
So I think that's a signal that, hey, look, we should keep this, actress, I liked actually the sense of there was really not a villain. You know how I've been very vocal on, I kind of want every single story to have a villain. Well, actually, you could just kind of say that Barry is his own villain in this, whole thing. Which, I mean, they tried doing literally. And, I was actually all right with it. I wasn't, really ticked about it. Now, do I think the final confrontation could have been better? Absolutely. I also liked how the cameos, oh, look, it's Michael Keaton's Batman, Supergirl, young Barry, and oh, look, there's the Batwing, and the Batmobile. Nothing really felt like, okay, we're focusing on, it's now Batman's movie instead of the Flash movie. It's always the Flash movie, which I really appreciate, because that's something that Marvel movies always forget to do. And also now the current Star Wars shows are like that, such as with Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian season 3, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was because of Wanda and more. So it's like, oh, thank you for focusing on the Flash, you know. Some CGI, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna say some CGI was good, like Young Barry's CGI. You do realize they CGI'd Ezra Miller's face on him, and it looked great. I almost forgot that. I almost thought, oh my god, it's the same actor. Like it's two completely different people, you know, at points. Like you don't notice that. And I want to give them a round of applause. I think actually that's where all the money went, to be fair. And also when he's running, when Barry's running and all that, I like the yellow. I like that it looks like Barry's running in the comic book. So I do like that. Every other CGI, I'm going to go to the worst stuff right around now. All the other CGI stuff was like, this was bad CGI. All right, we're just gonna straight up say that. What's another problem though that I have? I actually feel like it could have been a little bit longer. Is that just me? I don't know. I felt like
No, actually, I felt like the movie ended perfectly. Like, I did not want to sit there another 10, 15 minutes. But I was satisfied with what I got. Like,
I feel like though we should have gotten like more interaction with Supergirl, and this is not me saying
no, I agree
this is
with you
not
on
because I'm a fan of Supergirl. This isn't just because I'm simping for Sasha Calle's Supergirl. No, this is me just seriously saying that, like, okay, Supergirl says, no, I will not help you, and then goes sees Zod, you know, shooting down the people, and then she goes back and I guess she uses her super hearing to hear in that, oh, I need to fly Barry up to get struck with lightning. You know, it's like she turns like within a few minutes of the movie, like very short, which I like that she turns, and I love the ideas right there. But sorry guys, I don't know if you heard that. Yeah, but you get my point. Like I feel like we could have spent some more time. I felt like what else is something that I feel like Dark Flash we should have gotten a little bit more of, because I mean his whole climax thing at the end really didn't do anything, even though they've been teasing like, oh my god, look, there's a dark speedster. Oh my god, your nightmare, there's a dark speedster. You know, it's like, who is it? You know. And also it's funny how like Andy Muschietti has confirmed that it was Reverse Flash who actually killed the parents. I mean, not kill the parents, kill the mom in this movie. He went on interviews and he said that, and I'm like, okay, well, where's Reverse Flash? Like, where is he? Like, you could have introduced him in this movie, possibly. I'm not saying, you know, like I don't know, but yeah. Trying to think if there's any other issues that I have with the movie.
well, that was just silence.
What?
Nothing. It just went silent for a while.
I've been talking.
I know you've been talking, but like that was funny because I feel like you paused for us to comment and we didn't say anything.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I will just keep on talking, rambling.
Anyway, just go on.
Oh yeah, the ending of the movie. I felt like it didn't feel like an ending. That's the thing to this universe. And the thing is, this movie's supposed to like be the ending to the DCEU. And to me, it just did not feel like an ending. That's just me. Like I don't see what was the ending effect to it. Like
Yeah.
because the thing is, that Batman who we see at the end, which was a good cameo by the way, George Clooney.
Yeah.
I did laugh. He's not the new Batman. James
No,
Gunn
he's
legit
not.
came out on Twitter, and said absolutely not. He was like, no, we're not replacing.
It was a joke at the end, so
Yeah,
just
exactly.
take it as that, guys.
So then we're like, okay, so this is not the new universe. And I feel like I think what James Gunn was trying to say is that when the different multiverses were clashing in the movie, that scene, the flashback. I mean, not the flashback, but you saw those cameos of former, DC characters. I feel like that's. I think that's actually gonna be one of the universes. Like that's gonna be the DCU. Believe it or not, like I don't know. I don't know if James Gunn's gonna keep Ezra Miller or not. I don't think he will.
There's no way he's going to.
Yeah, because I mean James Gunn is so like for the fans, and he also is a guy that understands money as well. And see, that's actually another reason why I want to go back quickly, Austin, to your whole thing about the money thing. Forget what I said also about, forget a little bit, but here's also another claim that I'm going to say. James Gunn also has done lower budget movies for most of his life as well. It wasn't until Guardians 1 where he actually had a big budget and he did whatever he wanted for the most part, Like, for example, there's Super, which, by the way, Super's great. If you love Peacemaker, Super is right around that corner. And also, it's the main actor of that movie is the same guy who plays Dwight in The Office. So, great movie, by the way. It's legit him trying to be a superhero in order to get his wife back, who's cheating on him. All right. But anyway. It's so funny. It's a really funny movie, by the way. And then also he has done Slither and all of that. So he's done very low budget movies, but still made them pretty good. So I'm like, yeah, you can do a Superman movie. Just make sure that the CGI, like him flying, looks amazing.
Oh yeah, we commented on how bad the CGI is in the Flash. My God.
Yeah, no,
CGI.
no. I've already said that as well, Dylan.
Yeah.
So how dare you for not listening?
Dude, I literally left the room for a couple of minutes, so my apologies. I had to go somewhere real quick.
How dare you? You're rude. You're rude.
I did not mean to.
I'm legit right here with my Superman freaking graphic novel, so how dare you? Okay, how dare you? But anyway,
boy.
And also these are the early years. This is from 1938 to 1945. But anyway, yeah, it's just a whole book full of these stories. Anyway, back to what I was going to say about it. The Flash. The post-credit scene, you know why the post-credit scene is actually important, Austin?
Why?
It's because Flash said that in every single universe he met multiple Batmans, but he also like saw that in every universe Aquaman is the same exact person. Played by the same exact person.
Yeah.
So thus, basically, that's an indication that, hey, Aquaman is gonna be in the new universe, played by the same actor.
We'll see.
Well, that's good.
So, I mean, even if the movie, I think, doesn't do well, they're still gonna keep continuity in. I don't know for certain though.
We don't really know anything about any of this. Like, I feel like James Gunn is just better off just completely resetting everything. Like, there's nothing to salvage of this. Like, there isn't.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. That's the thing. I agree with you on that. I'm not like trying to say yeah, we should keep the like I feel like honestly well no. I guess I will disagree, Austin. I feel like if you reboot Wonder Woman, okay? The casual audience loves the first Wonder Woman movie. Like, trust me, I've legit talked to some girls, same age and all of that, same school, yada yada yada, and they say, "Oh yeah, I love Wonder Woman. I love the first movie. Second one sucked." And we got it on HBO Max though, and it was bad. And I'm like, yeah, and they're like, "Oh, when is the third one coming out?" I'm like, I don't think the third one's gonna come out anytime soon, you know. And I'm kind of okay with him keeping Gal Gadot, because the thing is,
She looks like Wonder Woman.
She
She
looks like
actually
Wonder
fits the look of Wonder Woman.
he fits the look of Wonder Woman, and also she right now, even though her age is like 39, she legit looks like someone in her late 20s
Yeah, she does.
physically, So I don't think it's like the end of the world.
I thought she was out as Wonder Woman.
No, that was a
No,
lie.
she confirmed that she's going
She
to be
confirmed
in.
that she's going to be in the new universe. And we've known that Jason Momoa, or however way you say his last name, he's also going to be in it as well. Now we don't know if that's for Lobo or Aquaman, but now with the Flash post-credit scene, I think it's going to be Aquaman still. I think he's going to be rebooting though Superman, which we already know as David Cornsweet. Great choice, by the way. I don't know if you brought it up or not, Dylan.
I really haven't talked much about that, so I'm actually glad that you're bringing this up because I haven't really talked about
it. Batman, of course, for The Brave and the Bold, which I'm interested in who's going to be playing Batman, because for some reason they always pick a great Batman actor, and then they always it's always funny, like even for Superman, really, they always cast someone great for Superman or Batman, and the fans all bash on it at first until they actually see the movie. Remember, Austin, when Ben Affleck was confirmed to be Batman, and all the fans were like, "No, Ben Affleck can't portray Batman. What are we talking about?" And all of that, Same thing with Henry Cavill. People said he was way too skinny, and now we're seeing that with David Cornsweet as well. He's way too skinny, yada yada yada. It's like, guys, you do realize they force them to go to the gym and all of that when they sign up for roles like this. They force them to go out to the gym, and also they wear a padded suit to make them look even more muscular and all of that. Like, Henry Cavill did that. Ben Affleck did that as well. So don't worry about it. Because, I mean, even remember Robert Pattinson's Batman? Everyone's like, "Oh no, that's the guy from Twilight. He's going to be playing the Nemo Batman." He's portrayed one of the best Batmans, just right up with Ben Affleck. So it's like, bruh, you know. But yeah, no. So they're gonna be rebooting with a new Batman, new Superman, new Flash, Cyborg. I don't even think James Gunn's thinking about Cyborg yet. You know, which that's perfectly understandable because I'd much rather he just introduces Cyborg with the Teen Titans. You know, I think he just needs to focus though on his first slate. Make them as great as he can. And guess what? You will not be getting money though until 2028. But you much rather gain the audience's trust. You know, because if you don't gain the audience's trust, then there's no way that you're getting money whatsoever in the future. Superman Legacy needs to be very great with storytelling, writing, directing. It needs to be everything. Everything needs to be great about it. Like it needs to be like an 8 out of 10 and above for this movie, you know? Like we need to see scores like that. You know,
Yeah.
because I mean, for example, Iron Man. Now you hear from everyone, and also in Phase 3, everyone's like, "Oh, Iron Man was fantastic. That's a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 movie." If you actually go back in the day, a lot of people said it was like a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10, but everyone still felt like, yeah, it was good enough. Like it was a good start. That's what James Gunn has to do. He has to focus on. He needs to win the audience over with a great start, because if you have a bad start and then maybe another bad movie and then maybe finally a good movie after the third one, I mean, that's already bad right there. You can't even win your audience over with your interpretation of Superman. Like, what?
Yeah.
Your main character of your universe, him and Batman are the main characters. Like, that's why you gotta nail both of them. That's one problem that Zack Snyder never did. He never nailed those two characters right in a row. Like, yes, Batman was the best part, but even then, we got introduced to the Batman that's not even Batman anymore. He lost his way. He's killing people now, and then he goes back to, oh, I can't kill by the end of the movie. It's like, why would you introduce with that Batman immediately? Because then casual audience members are going to be like, oh, Batman always kills. It's like, no, he doesn't, guys. So, yeah. I guess that's my little conversation right there. I think that's it, Dylan. For me.
Yep. What about you, Austin? Is there anything else you want to say, man?
No, I do not have anything else to say other than, after thinking about it a little bit, I kind of want to apologize to Zack Snyder. Look, I give this guy a lot of shit. Let's be real. I think we've all given him a lot of shit. Yes, Army of the Dead was embarrassing. Yes,
Yeah, we all have.
Man of Steel's not perfect. The tornado scene's still stupid. And yes, I will admit he's very divisive, but I will say this. And this is the only nice thing I will say about Zack Snyder, is that he at least had a direction and a plan. And I think by the end of this DCEU, there was no plan and no direction. And quite frankly, and while I'm not saying it, and I will say that Zack Snyder is not completely blameless here, because he is to blame, but WB is more so to blame too. And I think there's guilty parties everywhere. And would I have liked to have seen Zack Snyder's story finished? Sure. I feel like at that point you might as well. But you know what? I'm glad that Zack Snyder's moved on and he's doing Army of the Dead, which I'll happily make fun of him for the rest of my life. And I will say that it's just, I think The Flash ultimately just, to me, it perfectly encapsulates just the DCEU state as a whole. disjointed, messy, and just flat out just. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And I think, and honestly, I'm just glad this universe is done because I'd never, like, it's just so hard to be supportive of these movies because it's like, I've tried so hard to be optimistic. I've always tried to say, no, these movies are going to come back. Oh, they're going to figure it out. No, they never do.
Yeah, there's been quite a few stinkers within this series. Let's just say that.
Oh, no, there's more than just a few.
I mean, Man of Steel.
Actually, you know what? I will say this about Man of Steel. After rewatching it, I see what he was going for. I'm not saying it was the best thing I've ever seen. It's an okay, if I'm pretending it's not a Superman movie and it's just I don't know, like super god guy versus another god guy, I'd be like,
it's actually not that bad if you take Superman out.
Yeah, it's really not that bad. Like had good. Here's my thing with it. It has good moments. And I like Zod in that movie than the Flash.
Yes, I agree.
And
Zod was pretty cool in that.
Zod, like, to me, and I did like seeing Russell Crowe. Seeing Krypton is pretty cool. And I know that we give, and trust me, don't get me wrong, this Henry Cavill, I'll say this, looked great as Superman. I think he had the visual representation down flat. The problem is the ending of that movie, that last act really kills it for me, where like he's just destroying everything with Zod and like the other Kryptonians.
For me, it's just the whole story was just so boring. And you can ask Android because I was watching him. I was watching that film halfway through the movie. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. Here we are at the last half. It's gonna end right here. No, it turns out we have no whole another hour because
no, and I agree with
so
you.
Slow.
Like, and that's there's a few other problems with the movie too. It's slow. There's a lot of narrative choices that still don't make sense to me.
Superman, though, in that movie, he's not Superman. That's like my biggest issue with the whole movie. It's like he doesn't feel like the charming like guy that he is. You know, he seems like he's not like, he doesn't help people a whole
actually
lot.
that's actually kind of wrong. He actually does help people.
I mean,
just until the end he doesn't help
he
people.
doesn't. How should I word it?
Well, I literally just explained it for you. He doesn't help people at the end. He could have done more, but
yeah, because I mean, he does help people. Like, after all, he did freaking defeat Zod, and he did save Lois and all that.
Well,
so
also, there was the guys on the boat too that he saved, and
yeah. No, but like, you don't feel that sense of how. I don't know. I if I actually thought of a reasoning behind that, like, thought more. If I actually rewatched Man of Steel, maybe I would figure out why. But he just did not feel like the guy who I read in comics and watch on.
But see, and that's the problem too. You kind of have to. The issue is with comic book movies is that, and I'm going to keep saying this, comic book fans are really fickle. Okay? If comic book fans don't get, if it's not accurate enough, then you got the comic book fans that are like, oh, like, this is terrible. But then you have, like, but then if you go too far into it, then you got other people going, well, that's just too close.
Then
like,
you get people pissed. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you really
You
can't
get people
have
pissed regardless.
Yeah. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think, and I agree, Zack Snyder, for the most part, I don't think he understood. Like, he understood the baseline of who Superman is. He just didn't fully understand the more in-depth stuff. Now, is that necessarily bad?
Oh, sorry, Austin. You can continue.
I was going to say, is that necessarily a bad thing? For his movies, maybe not. But it's just, I think the way he went about things just didn't work.
Okay, so wait, no, I think I just found out after. Okay, so it's not the problem that my claim of what I said beforehand is completely false. Just want to get people out there. I just realized the actual problem which I have is that Zack Snyder did not understand how to humanize Superman.
No, he didn't. And I will agree.
That's true.
My biggest
That's
issue.
100%.
That's my biggest issue, because he legit just felt like a super god the entire freaking movie. He did not feel like Clark Kent. at all in this movie until the end when he finally put on his glasses and he went to the Daily Planet. That's why I'm glad in James Gunn's movie, apparently he's like 2 years in as Superman, like, and he's like, they're kind of skipping all of the Smallville stuff and the Krypton exploding and all that. They're just gonna go with him, like, possibly moving into Metropolis and just getting a job there and all of that. And we're just going to be seeing him being
Right.
Superman in Metropolis. I'm sorry, that sounds so much better than anything we have seen from Superman thus far, in my opinion. At least that sounds like a
So
good thing, you know?
I agree with you on that. The reason why maybe I get why what Zack Snyder was trying to do was having that story about somebody who, he wants to help, he wants to, kind of help people, but the problem is, like, he doesn't know if he can be accepted. And you do see, like, things in there here and there that, like, try to ground him. It's just, I don't think he did it enough. And I think that's what ultimately maybe takes it down a peg for me, too. And
Well, the problem, though, is with all that, Austin, he should still feel like one of them, like a human, because he was raised by humans. Like, that's the thing with Superman. He really never feels neglected unless if the people then turn on him for being Superman. Like, that's when they become neglectful. So the whole BVS plot actually makes sense with them, like, questioning, well, should we actually trust this man and all that? Like, I like the ideas behind Batman versus Superman way more than Man of Steel, actually. Just
oh no, I agree.
right there.
BBS
you know.
BBS is a lot better, but more specifically the Ultimate Cut. If we're talking theatrical,
No, we're talking about Ultimate Cut.
yeah, Ultimate Cut's way better than Man of Steel. I agree with that.
You know, the Ultimate Cut makes a lot more sense. And see, that's the thing. Like, I don't know why, but with Batman versus Superman, like, I actually defend that movie way more than Man of Steel completely, because I feel like the ideas behind it make sense. And I even defend Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. And that's mainly because Lex was kind of portrayed that way in earlier comics with Superman. He was a, redhead who was crazy and all of that. That was Lex Luthor back in the day, until I feel like I think it was after like 20 some issues. So to me, more so, that was like the origin story of Lex Luthor in my eyes. I don't know, like, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Lex in that movie. My interpretation of Lex is always Clancy Brown.
It's funny because I actually really like Lex Luthor in
Lex
those movies.
Luthor
He's like
to
the only
me-
thing that saves the movie for me.
Clancy Brown's Lex in the animated universe, I'm pretty sure he portrayed Lex in the animated universe.
It was something
right?
like that, yeah.
Okay, well, whoever portrayed Lex in Superman the Animated Series and Justice League, whoever does that, to me is who Lex.
Yeah, no,
Luthor
that is him, yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, to me, that is who Lex, more so. And I'm also glad, by the way, with the recent interview that Gunn said, he said he is making sure that is going to be Lex if Lex Luthor is in his movie. He is still not confirming if Lex is in his movie or not. He legit straight up said to the guy who played Lex in Smallville, yeah, he gave him an interview, like, I think 2 weeks ago or whatever. Like, oh, and have you found your Lex? James Gunn's like, I never said that Lex was in the movie. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. I'm not confirming that yet. He said, there's plenty of Superman villains out there. We need to start seeing more super villains than Zod and Lex. He just straight up said that. I'm like,
Oh, sure, yeah.
I like that. Thank you. Like, I don't know what he's planning, but I think Brainiac, though, might be the main villain of the whole of Chapter 1. I'm not saying of Superman Legacy he'll be the main villain. I'm saying Chapter 1 he might be the main villain because Brainiac is also a Justice League enemy. So possibly, I don't know. Because he also said Lanterns, that show is somehow going to connect. So it's something cosmic more so. So it could be Sinestro. I don't know though. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what else to really say, Dylan.
Yeah. Well, with that said, guys, this has been a really fun stream. Really great. Nindroid, go ahead and tell people where they can find you at before we get out of here, my friend.
All right, you guys can just find me on my channel. I'm gonna be on Dylan's stream, talking about Fairy Odd Parents next, and then next week we're gonna be doing a huge Ninjago discussion, where my guys Blake and Steven, aka
And Austin, you're invited if you have time.
and Austin. Yeah, now Austin's also invited for Ninjago. So there's that, where we just talk about everything Ninjago. But yeah, also Dylan and I are going to be starting up another channel together eventually, which we're going to be working on sooner or later.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Yes, and that's going to be very fun. One group channel, which is going to be fun. Then you guys can just find me wherever. I'm also on Storms Live on Sundays. So you guys will see me there this week, where we're going to be talking about more about the Flash movie, David Cornsweet, and the new Lois Lane actress, and some other things as well there. And yeah, Dylan, thank you for having me on. And also, I'm going to quickly just give out my rating for the Flash movie. It's an 8.5 for me. My biggest...
Yeah, my rating is actually an 8. Austin, what is your rating for the film, as well as tell people where they can find you, my friend?
Well, I'm going to give it a letter grade. I'm just going to go a D. And you guys can just find me on my channel, where I'm not doing a lot of stuff, but eventually I'll do something. I'm just everywhere at this point. You typically can just check me out on Wednesdays for the Hangout on the Basketball Scenario. I'll be here tomorrow, so check me out when you can. And yeah, that's really all I got to say, man. Dylan, thanks for having me on.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, actually, I don't know why you said tomorrow. It will actually be on Saturday. But coming this Saturday, we have What Made It Great, Fairly Odd Parents. Tomorrow, I am releasing my video on my personal thoughts about what made Fairly Odd Parents great to me. And then on Saturday, I'm getting Nindroid and Austin here to talk about what made it great to them, which will be a fun series on different TV shows. And the first one that we're going to be doing is Fairly Odd Parents, but there's a whole list of TV shows that I want to talk about, including Ninjago. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to this new series, and I'm excited to be coming out with that. You guys can also find me on the Austin Ayers channel whenever he does his streams, and you can also find me on Star Wars Network's channel whenever he goes live, just for the fun of it. We actually went live. Was it last night or the other night before, Android?
It was legit last night, buddy.
Yeah, last night we were talking about the DC stuff as well. And with that said, The Flash, is this movie actually worth going to see? I think we can all agree when I say no.
I actually
but
said yes.
I still had a blast seeing it. Austin didn't really like it, and Nindroid's right here in the middle of it. But overall, this film it is what it is. I wish it was better. I actually don't think it. I don't think the story deserves the flop because I really liked the story and I really like the lessons with the movie. But it is a very basic film, and it's very easy to see why this movie flopped for so many reasons, not just the main actor. But with that said, guys, thank you guys for watching. And let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And we are out for now. Bye.
Peace.
Peace.
Subscribe to Dylan's Little Hobbies right now.